Y'all listening to Savage Media Radio, your number one source for underrated and non-viral topics, discussions, and news from the web and around the world. Think you can handle that much truth? Buckle up, bruh. It's about to get savage.
That's right, guys. We're back.
La 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 la.
What?
Yes. The voices, shout out, someone singing. We're here, guys. We're here. What's up, followers? What's up, listeners? What's up, guys? Savage Media Radio. The voices, we're back. It's Wednesday the 18th, and we up in this piece. It's been 2 weeks off, 2 whole weeks after going for so long, for a couple months. So exciting to be back. Anybody got anything exciting and new that they wanted to, kick out? A lot of things happened on the last 2 weeks. A lot of things. I know in each one of our lives. So I'm just, curious to see who's excited, who got like a fire under their butt, who's got something interesting and exciting going on. Yeah, you know me.
That sounds like an STD if I've never heard one.
Hopefully nobody has that kind of fire under their butt. That's definitely not it. You don't want that.
I must say,
you don't want a fire under.
Hey guys, I must say that these past 2 weeks I felt like a 90-year-old man who's been missing his Viagra. You guys are like the hard-on I've been yearning for 2 weeks. I'm so happy to be back.
That sounds so sexy.
That's good. It's a rock hard podcast.
Yes.
Speaking of rock hard, I'll tell you what I've been up to. Speaking of rock hard, I didn't say that. I've been binge watching The Sopranos. So, I am 180 years old, and every once in a while I have to, dust off my I have to dust off my computer, and I still have a dial-up. And so I'm able to.
Doug.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You're so stupid. Have you, real quick? Speaking of series, have you been watch Breaking Bad before or not?
I did. I watched a bunch. I watched I think maybe like the first few seasons, and then I just got preoccupied.
A bunch is not enough. You need to finish because we've introduced my mother-in-law to Breaking Bad, and it's been like literally her and my dad's life for like a whole 2 weeks. They're almost like done with the whole series. So I suggest you get on that.
I'll go back to it. I actually was when a friend of mine told me about the series, and I was like, it sounds kind of interesting. And I watched the first 2 seasons. For whatever reason, I kind of like when you have access to all the seasons at once, because then you could just binge watch it and just power straight through. Right. So what's been on the queue is last time we talked, I was binge watching Jane the Virgin, which I think is a great. I mean, the girl's so talented; it's fantastic. And then I got to a spot where I can't remember what season I'm on, but all the ones that they had on Netflix, and I kind of stopped, and I'm waiting for them to upload another one because another season came out.
That's the only annoying part.
But then I circled back on Sopranos, which I hadn't seen, believe it or not. And I'm not kidding. I mean,
I'm from New Jersey, so that's the only reason why that's unacceptable. But you're all the way over there, so I understand.
well, also, just for me, I like the idea of being able to binge watch stuff and just power straight through it, And so once I saw it on Amazon, and it's in like the Amazon Prime, I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to watch a bunch of it. And so I think I'm, 4 seasons deep right now.
Oh, geez.
Just cranking along. Other than that, everything's good. Thank you so much.
All right, we're catching up on our binge watching this.
Yes. Sorry, Troy. Totally stole the show for a second. I just wanted.
That's exciting and new. I feel like that's what happened. Now that you got your Viagra back, I hope that you can keep on with those activities that you need to get going. Make it happen for you. We're here, baby. We're here, ready for you. Carlos, Brandon, anything exciting? Anything new? Yes, no, maybe so. Or you gonna save it for later? Because I know Carlos has to talk about it. I saw your Instagram.
For me, for me, I've just been surviving day to day. We got a lot to talk about because I'm really disappointed in the Black community. We need to do better. But we'll talk about it on my segment. But my last 2 weeks have just been like super, super, just like human. That's the only way I can describe it. Is just superhuman. But no, we'll talk about it on Kicking It with Carlos.
Awesome. I know that I know that for sure. That's why I was like, I'm not gonna ask any questions or anything because I'll wait. Cool. Brandon, anything exciting for you these 2 weeks off? Anything interesting in you?
I know I missed you guys though. I missed you guys. I can definitely say that.
Real talk.
Nothing, just hanging out, chilling, working, schedule changes. Nothing changed. I'm just laying, guys.
Business as usual. Got it. Yeah, I mean, for me, it was sort of like I really missed you guys. It was kind of hard, like, because I'm so used to Wednesday being podcast day that, you know, when Wednesday came, I'm like, wow, wait, we're not doing it. What am I doing with myself today?
You were lost.
Right.
Right. Because I'm so used to it. So I'm super excited, though. I was able to, you know, go do some things, attend events that I haven't normally attended on a Wednesday. So it was cool. I've been doing a lot of networking and things. And
you've been cheating on us.
No, y'all was cheating on me. Never no cheating, you know. We gotta, like a husband that has to step out the house and do some things and come back. It's like a parent. I'll see you guys then. But I'm here. I'm super excited about what the future's bringing. Like us as a team, you guys as individuals. I'll be keeping an eye on you guys. And so at the end of the day, I'm just excited. I'm excited to be back, and that's what it is. So with that being said, nobody got anything else to say. So, we can keep things moving on to just a wonderful, amazing show on today. So you can catch our latest broadcast here on Spreaker, as well as SoundCloud, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. If you like our views and want to keep us talking, donations to the show are always appreciated via Patreon.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Google Plus for up-to-date info and discussions about previous and upcoming broadcasts. Plus, you can keep up to date with your favorite host of Savage Media Radio. Ta-da! All right, guys, so we're going to move things over to Savage Culture. Let's get in. All right. So that sound, miss that sound. Okay, Savage Culture, ladies and gentlemen, let's get it. Let's jump right into it. So I want to talk about something that's important because all of us are either in a relationship or married or something like that, or, possibly seeing someone seriously. But I think something that's very important when it comes to being serious with someone, whether you're dating, married, or whatever it may be, finances. It's definitely something that's important in life in general. And then when you get with someone, you got to start thinking about, okay, well, your finances is yours and mine is mine. When is the time to say, okay, let's start putting them together, all those kind of things. So, that's some things that I've been, dealing with. So I wanted to just, I did some research and, I like doing research and talking about things that are out there and also get you guys' opinion as always. But from moneyto30.com, this is basically, it talks about how do you split your expenses with your partner or your spouse. But before you can actually get to splitting it, you got to talk about, talk about money with your partner. I know it's not easy to talk about money and finances, whether you're talking about it with family, friends, or a partner, especially in a relationship, though. Especially if you're still getting to know each other. You still get to know their ways, they're getting to know your ways. So there's sort of a two-part to this. I want to just give you the 6 topics for, how you break the ice, and the 6 ways of how you break the ice and discuss finances in your relationship. I think that's important. You cannot negate that, when you're 2 different people coming together and want to make one life together when you're going to be married with someone. 2 separate people coming from 2 different walks of life, 2 different backgrounds. They learn 2 different ways. And so, you got to make those things come to one. And so that's not always easy. 6 ways to have better money talk with your man or your girl. Here we go. So the first one is, agree to disagree. Especially with men and women, we all value money differently. And outside of that, just as individuals, we value money differently. So you got to really first realize that it's okay to agree to disagree. Second thing is this. Don't make it a big deal. Don't wait until you're upset to talk about big purchases and things like that you want to do. Like, start talking about those things early. Don't wait. Don't make it about an impulse. Oh, I'm mad at you, so I'm going to go do this. Or, don't make it a big deal. Talk about it. Get it out there. Move it on so it doesn't seem like you're doing something based on how you feel and your emotions. That's never good to act out of feelings or emotions in the moment. Think about it. Number 3 is focus on each other's strengths. That's very important because you might be better at saving money, but I might be better at making money. So if you put those 2 together, you make it and you save it, bam. Sounds like a great future to me. Number 4, don't just talk about numbers, but also talk about the value. Because, when it comes to things that you have, it might not be expensive, but it might mean something to you. And I think that that's important. Somebody suck their teeth or something? Oh, I thought somebody had something to say. Don't just talk numbers, but talk values. It's important because what you value and how you value things may not be the same. And if your partner, breaks something of yours that you feel is a value or borrow something and they lose it, then that can be a big issue. So you want to make sure that, You don't talk about the numbers, you talk about the volume. Number 5, do not lie. You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie. Do not lie. There's no reason to lie, especially when it comes to finances, because everything has timestamps, everything has dates. You can see when things are going in and out. You can look at receipts. You can't lie. Don't lie. And the last thing on this number 6 list is talk about earning money, not just spending it. Hello, for the future, you want to make sure that if you're gonna be with somebody, how we going? Let's build this empire, baby. Let's do this. You got to talk about making money too, not just having money and saving it. So those, according to MoneyUnder30.com, those are the 6 ways that you can 6 tips for couples discussing finances, how to break the ice and talk about finances. So I'm gonna jump right into it. Anybody, on the married side, let's start with married people first. We have 3 married people here. On the married side, I'm just saying, we got to start with you because that's when the finances really matter. When you dating or y'all boyfriend and girlfriend, you're like, yours is yours, mine is mine. But when you get married, shit changes. Real talk. So, Courtney, since can you really talk about the whole money and finances? Like, how did you go from being single and having your money to being married and having money together, doing business together?
What's funny is I'm a very headstrong person. So when it comes to money, I don't know. I don't like borrowing money. I don't like asking for money. I don't like people paying for me. I don't like anything that has to do with me not handling my own money. So I've always been like that. I get embarrassed if I ever needed help. Like, it's been since I was a kid. I've always gotten embarrassed for asking people for help. So I always went into the relationship with, I'm going to let him bring up how he feels about money because I already know my stand. And I don't have to, I know I can depend on myself and I always make it work. So I never thought, what if he doesn't want to help pay for this or buy me this? That was never really a worry for me. But when we got to know each other, we realized that we kind of have the same, I guess, style of dealing with money. Like, he's very laid back. I'm very laid back. Whatever it is we need, we got each other. We got it. We don't got to worry about, struggling. If we have to struggle, we will make do. We've always had that same type of, I guess, way of dealing with it. But in our relationship being married, it's always pretty much our money is our money. Like, there is no his money, his check, my money, my check. It's just like, it goes in the pot, and whatever we need. Any big expenses, big purchases, we always ask each other for permission, just because out of respect. But it's not like, either one of us would rarely say no to something, especially if it's something that we really needed or somebody really wanted. But we kind of just really laid back about it. It's never been an issue for me in my relationship as far. It's never been a big deal. And Troy, you definitely hit it on the head when you said some people are better at saving money, some people are better at making money. I am a business owner, so naturally he is much better at making money because it's constant and it's not. He works for the man, so money is always there. For a business owner, it's up and down. We have our good years, our bad years, So I generally kind of deal with the finances with regards to saving and paying bills with our money collectively and things like that. But that definitely was a strong point to kind of put out there, is that you got to kind of see whose role is whose in a relationship. That definitely is a good piece of advice.
Right. And that's definitely important. That's why when I saw this, I was like, you know what? I had a little bump in the road myself, and I was like, I gotta do some research and see what things are about, because I feel like that's the most important thing. Like, money is, it's no joke. We all need it to live. But how does it work when you transpire from a relationship and when you start involving other things, business ventures and things like that? Like, all of that comes into play, and that's when things change, and it's important because a lot of relationships, don't succeed because of finances, and it's sad, but it's true. Like, why does it have to be that way? But hey, you can't spend your money right. You don't know what to do with your money. And I got to worry about my money being tied with yours. I'm not dealing with that. You know what I'm saying?
That's the second cause of divorce, by the way, is money, finances. Somebody spending something they shouldn't, or not being able to monitor their finances properly, or hiding money and lying, like you said. That's that's the second reason for divorce in America, is people lying about money, not having something when they said they did, and then people find out, and it just blows up in their face.
Well, that's what happens when you lie, like, especially about money. Like, thing is, if you can lie about money, what else could you lie about?
Can I bring up a bit about lying? Okay, so me and my husband, we got married Like it went really fast. Like we started dating in December. He lived with me by like February. And so we moved really fast, and finances wasn't one thing that we talked about because at that time we were both doing very well. Like I was working my full-time job, he was working his full-time job, and it wasn't a problem. But when I decided to go off, like Coco said, when I decided to be an entrepreneur and do my own thing, that's when money became a huge issue. Mm-hmm. And for our marriage, the huge issue was giving money to family members. Even if it was our money or your money. And I'm not talking about like $50. I'm talking like buying cars, putting electricity in our name, like big things that not only affect your credit, that affects my credit. And my husband won't mind me sharing the story, but he and his mother and we just started talking.
Wow.
After my husband lied to me, and we gave his mom a car, and her only thing was she had to make the payments. Well, she was going through a financial hard time, and he and her decided to make payments from me. And by the time that I found out, they were trying to repossess my Benz because my Benz was on time, but it was through the same credit company. So they're like, we're going to take all your cars because you're not paying for one of the. I wasn't aware that I wasn't paying for the other car. I was totally dumbfounded. So it was a very intense conversation that me and my husband had about, I know that's your mom, I know that's your family, but y'all getting cut off. Like it's getting cut, and it's so hard when you have to tell your husband or your significant other that like you're cutting their family off, because no one wants to cut their family off, and everyone feels the responsibility of their parents. But like you guys said, it's not just your money, it's our money. It's not just your credit, it's our credit. When you do something stupid, when you sign up for a credit card, when you go buy a car for someone, even though it's not in it. Once your credit goes down, my credit goes down because I'm attached to you by marriage. So I think it's a huge conversation that you have to have. And I mean, for us, it's the family thing. Like now we don't lend money to nobody. Like I just lent my friend $500 months ago, and he done lied, and I have to sue his ass. Like I literally just filed suit against him today. So it's. That's the most important thing to talk about in a relationship is money and how you're going to do it. And it's not even about how you're making the money all the time. It's about like how you spend it and who you donate to. Because my husband, he likes to donate to shit, and I don't like donating to shit. I'm like, them kids in Africa don't need my money. They're gonna be all right. But then I also have a heart, so I was like, all right, let's donate. But I'm a giver of people on the street, and my husband hates that. Like people will see me driving, they'll come up to my car, and I will give them money because I just feel like I need to. So you just have to have a conversation on it. I think that's what we need to do.
Wow. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not money. When it comes to money, family, friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, like that's always like, that's why they got these court shows. Obviously, they wouldn't be on there if people want to own people's money. I mean, it's definitely something that, changes things. What about you, Doug? Being married and getting into the whole, let's share our money?
Well, good question. And here we go. So, Federica tackles all of the financial stuff similar to Courtney's system, where it's like there's just a bucket and the money goes into the bucket, and I'm just like, I shrug my shoulders and I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. I'm at a spot with Federica and we're going long, like we're gonna be till my last breath kind of thing. So I'm never worried about the money in that respect, but we've built in little I guess you could say little checkpoints. And one of the things that we did, and again, I'm not really a gigantic spender in general. Like if I want something, I'll go and buy it. Other than that, like I could care less. She is a little bit more, I think her primary thing is more like if the kids are taken care of. So she too is pretty laid back when it comes to, she doesn't really buy things for herself. It's more like, oh, the kids need shoes, blah, 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 which when you throw kids into the dynamic, it adds a little bit more to the puzzle. But one of the things that we did was anytime either one of us needs to spend, let's say more than like $250, we'll just check with the other one. Like, hey, by the way, I need to get this, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. High five, boom, and they do it. And then the other one that we built in too was had to do with like when you have your house, like when you buy a house or whatever, you have to have a lot of repairs or mechanics or anything like that. And we've built in this thing where if anything costs more than $500, we get 3 estimates. So just kind of by default, we seem to just kind of, hey, this is what's coming down the line. Is this cool? Or if it's a larger thing like an expense, I don't know, whatever, the washer dryer blew up and we need to bring in a new one. And the first guy comes by and he says, yeah, it's going to be $750 to fix. Right out of the gate, no matter which one saw the service guy, we'd say, okay, hold on. We got to get 2 more estimates before we're pulling before we're moving forward. And that's kind of how we do it. When it comes to the other, because I do a couple different things, but when it comes to the music stuff, and when you work in the live music world, you're getting paid cash more than by check. And so what I do is I have I guess you could call it like a separate bucket. And the separate bucket has to do with all of my own music business expenses and stuff like that. And then when that bucket gets to a certain amount, I don't know, there's a few $1,000s in there, I'll roll that into the house account. And so that means, like, let's say I'm driving down the street and the van breaks down and I need to get new tires or whatever. I don't take that out of my Federica and mine's joint account. I just take it out of the band account, out of its own kind of separate bucket. And then whenever that starts to fill up a little bit, it's got $3 or $4 grand, then I'll roll that money into the house account. That's how I do it.
Doug, that actually makes a lot of sense. I thought I was the only one because I have like a separate account just for my business expenses. And so when it gets to a certain cap, I just kind of like roll it over into our family account. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason why you do that is just because then it doesn't make it so confusing where you're like, what is this, $17 for this, or you're buying guitar strings or all these other things. It's so much easier for me just to keep whatever's music related in its own little world. And
see, I've had the opposite problem though, because I have like my social media and like my separate account for when I do my comedy and stuff. But there have been times where I don't touch that money at all. But there have been several times, like even recently, where I've had to pull out all of my comedy money and all of my YouTube money to pay for my family expenses, and that makes me upset. I know you guys are saying you split for the family, but I feel like I worked hard. I've already paid my portion of my bills, and then that's just my extra money, and then now I'm taking that out. And that's partially why I shut down my dog business, because after New York Fashion Week, I had drained so much money, and then I had to take care of a lot of things at home, and we were moving, and then we had the whole arrest and everything. And I completely drained my business account to the point where I had to shut down the business. So I think it's a fine line of separating your business from your personal, because if you keep giving to your personal bills will always over trump your business bills.
Sure. Yeah. The other thing too is just having some kind of understanding. Like let's say an example, like I make $10 an hour, Carlos, but you make $20 an hour. And it's like you're making money faster than I'm making money. And the question is, does it matter that I'm giving the effort to spend the money too, even though it's logically lopsided because I make more money? Or is it something where it's like, no, fuck that. The rent's $1,000. It's $500 each. You're going to have to work more hours. And so that's
how I do it. I mean, the way I look at it, Mitch, if you get a better job. And that's right. In my household, it creates a competition, and we both I was like, this month I made $6,000. I made more than you made at work. What are you going to do? You better start looking for a raise. You better start looking for a better job, and it creates a healthy competition. It really does.
I have this completely opposite opinion of that, though. Honestly, I don't want to put that pressure on my husband. Like I tell him, if something were to happen and you lost your job and we only had my business or my side jobs, my freelance work, we will make it. We will find a way. Like I don't ever want to have my husband feel like I'm pressuring him to do better. That's just not like my way of handling it. Although I understand how in some relationships that could be fun and that could be something that's kind of like enticing, but for us that's not how I couldn't even like say that without him looking at me sideways.
My husband got laid off. My husband got laid off 6 months ago, and he was laid off for 4 months. And I'm telling you, hustling and doing it from your entrepreneurial side is way harder, and it takes.
It's happened to me before too.
it takes way more energy just in having a normal job that you clock in and out, because you have to, once you're making money, once you're done with that, you have to think of while you're sleeping and while you're down, like, how am I going to make money tomorrow?
And that's part of the job, though. That's part of what we signed up for. That's part of the hustle. And for me, that's something I'm willing to do if my husband fell on hard times, because I married him for better or for worse. I'm not going to say, hey, you are not doing so well.
My husband knows I'm like the government. You got 6 months. You got the government. They give you 6 months of unemployment. You got 6 months to get your shit together. Otherwise, you're gonna be separated.
Oh, I mean,
there you go. Carlos is not fooling around.
He's not playing.
How many years have you been married, Carlos? 7 years? How many years have you been married?
We've been married for almost 8 years, and I feel like 6 months. If you don't have a job in 6 months, I shouldn't even be with you. Like, that is a very doable. Very doable.
Brandon back there going, right. We need to hear from Brandon. I need to know his opinion.
I can't. See, I'm the type of person that likes a guy that's really independent and has, at least, if you don't go to school, at least have a job. If you don't have a job, at least go to school. Like, you have to do something. And I've always been a person since I was like 16 to have a job. So I've always been working all my life. So for somebody to not have a job and starting off in a relationship, that won't work for me at all.
And that's fair.
Yep.
And I wasn't saying like I condone my husband if he felt like saying, hey, I want to be a deadbeat and not work. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying life happens. Shit happens. And in that time that shit's happening, I'm going to hold us down because that's what I'm here to do. That was what I signed up for.
That's marriage, though. That's marriage.
Exactly.
That's marriage, though. Like, I feel like that's different. When you're dating and someone's unemployed for 6 months, I don't think you should stay with them. But if you're already married, that's what you signed up for.
Right. Yeah. So there's 3 things that Money Under 30 says about splitting your expenses. There's 3 things. So the 3 ways they say is this. They say separate but equal. Most common unmarried and many married couples have separate bank accounts and credit cards, but split the big expenses like rent, utilities, and equally. One partner may pay out a pocket, and the other person may give them a check back for it. But it's basically, we might have our separate accounts, but on our major stuff, we're going to be equal, and we're going to pay equal, like you were saying earlier.
That seems awkward as shit to me. I'm sorry. We're one. Okay, we have everything together. That's just like, I'm really all about that. I was like, we just dump it in the pot, and we both figure it the fuck out. Like, that's how I feel like it should be.
I don't disagree with you. Like, I feel like I understand where you're coming from, and that's how I feel too. But that's not always the case. Everybody's different. The 2 people involved are different. The second thing it says a free for all, which is not recommended. It may be okay for one person to pay all the rent, and the other person pays like the electricity, the cable, and stuff like that. But it ends up being one person ends up paying more than the other. So that can really be a huge problem if you don't talk about like, hey, the mortgage is this, and all of these came out to this. So what's the equivalent to it, and how does that work? So that's another way they're saying doing it. If they don't recommend one person being the one that's paying everything, like the major bill and everybody else, because again, that's going to be an issue of who's paying more. And
is this in marriage or is this dating wise? Because if it's marriage, I understand that one. Because that's what my godparents did. My goddad worked for an electric company. He promoted for them. He was on the buses, so that's how he made most of his money from that. And his wife was an insurance. She worked in insurance, so we all know who made the most. So that's what she did. She paid the water, gas, lights, and he just took care of the mortgage. So that one I understand.
Well, I mean, these are 3 different ways they say it work, or you can create your own. This is what they know we're working. And this is the last one, and it says proportional to income. So if one person makes more than the other, you're stuck with the question of should the one that's making more money pay the higher percentage of the monthly bills? It's a personal thing, but here's a suggestion: if your lifestyle is together and you're modest, then don't strain the income or whoever's making less. But if you are someone who makes more money, have more expensive taste, then you should be the one to have to spell it out. If you like having expensive dinners and going on nice vacations, then you should be the one that's going to pay for the more majority of things because you have a higher, more of a higher taste for those kind of. So that's what Money Under 30 did. MoneyUnder30.com, helping us out there. This is some, info for those out there who are in a relationship, worrying about, finances and they have questions or concerns. Definitely check out MoneyUnder30.com. Thank you guys for, everyone participating. That was pretty dope, and you got a couple of different aspects from everybody. And I love when we get heated about things. So that's always a pleasure. And so we got to keep things moving. Now we got to kick things over to Kicking with Carlos. Let's get it.
All right. My life as normal has been just fucking crazy. My mother and my sister unfortunately died in a tragic accident almost 3 weeks ago, and can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Am I on?
Off and on. You're kind of staticky.
Yeah, we can hear you. You're just a little bit muffled.
Give me a second.
Oh, wait, you sound good now.
Give me a second.
That sounds way better.
Yeah.
Okay, my Bluetooth went off. Okay, that's okay.
I was just texting you
as
too.
I was saying, my mother and my sister died, and I had to make a trip to Detroit, and it was just that emotional part of just losing a mother and a sister in an instant was a lot to deal with, on top of the trial that I'm dealing with. But what I'm so glad that we talked about finances, because that was something that was huge, especially in my marriage. Like just the ticket to get out there was $600, and I borrowed that from a friend, and then I borrowed a lot of money from my husband for the funeral arrangements. But what I want to talk about on Kicking with Carlos today is life insurance. Doug, do you have life insurance?
I believe I do. That's definitely a Federica question. That's a Federica question.
Coco, do you have life insurance?
Yes, I do. We both do.
Perfect. And Troy, do you have life insurance?
I do not at the moment. No, I had it.
Okay.
No.
Brandon, do you have life insurance?
I don't believe I do.
Okay. So I personally, because of my husband's job, we have life insurance through his job, so we're taken care of. But I want to talk about the importance of life insurance. It's not only the importance of life insurance, the importance of writing your will. My mother did have life insurance when she died, but unfortunately, her policy was less than 90 days old, and there is a contingency in her contract that says that it's
2 years.
There's like a 2-year thing that if you die within
every time you do insurance, 2 years, right?
Yeah, but then there's a special clause if you die within 90 days, and they can just automatically deny everything until they do the investigation.
Wow.
The car accident was so tragic that the police couldn't tell if she was driving, my sister was driving. So long story short, a week into planning the funeral, we had the funeral planned. We knew we had to pay for my sister's funeral because she didn't have any life insurance. So my brother and I, and the help of our listeners and our friends and family, we started a GoFundMe, and we raised like almost $3,000 for my sister. And then like 3 or 4 days before the actual funeral, we were told that my mother's insurance wasn't going to cover her part of her funeral. So we had to come up with another $3,000 within like a 3 to 5 day period. That part, the stress of not only dealing, like I still haven't been able just to sit down and be like, damn, your mom and your sister is dead. It's literally just been about money and about numbers the last 3 weeks. And my brother and I were reaching out to all of our contacts. Like I reached out to every person I knew in the media. I reached out to every person I knew on the radio, and we did radio broadcasts. We did media broadcasts just to raise awareness so we can fundraise. But I want to tell the people the importance of having insurance. It's literally, if you smoke, it's less than 3 packs a week to pay for your insurance. If you drink, it's only like 2 drinks at the bar to have insurance. It's like $20 to $30 a month to have insurance. And that's going to take care of your family. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you the arguments that we got into about money. And then after we got the money situation settled, it was my sister and my mother didn't have a will. And my brother was like, well, mom wanted to be buried, but we didn't have the money for burial. And I was like, I want to cremate them because it'll be cheaper, and we can like make little necklaces with their ashes. And it was just a lot of arguing over things that could have been very well taken care of if people were to do the correct thing in life. I think a lot of people are, like we just talked about, are so concerned about bills in this life, and life is not guaranteed. Like that's one thing I've learned the last 2 weeks. I can die tomorrow. I could very easily die today. And am I ready to die? And that's a huge question. Are you ready to die? Not I'm talking about physically or spiritually. Financially, are you ready to die? And that's a very important question, because are you going to leave your loved ones with just the headache? I'm home for almost 3 weeks. So like everything in my life I had planned, like I got accepted. I did an audition for the new Power Rangers movies that's coming out in 2020, and I got a role, and it was going to be in Australia for 6 months, and I got the role. But I was supposed to ship out on April the 11th. But unfortunately, I was there planning a funeral. And it's things like that. Like, your loved ones are going to miss out on opportunities in their life if you're not prepared. So I want to talk to you guys about being prepared. Are you prepared? I'm going to start with Coco. I know you're married, and most married people have some type of setup. How are you guys prepared? Have you done your will? Who's going to take care of your funeral? Like, have you actually explained, like, what kind of cloth do you want? What kind of, do you want to be cremated or do you want to be buried? Are those something that you've discussed with your husband, Coco?
It's actually funny because a couple weeks ago I explained to everybody, it's gonna sound crazy, but I told them if I were to die, I want to be a tree. They have these new urns where you can put in your loved one's ashes, along with soil and some specialty like stuff to go in the soil, and you can plant the urn in the ground and it will turn into a tree that will live on forever. So I said that that's something I really want for myself. That's something that I think that it's just something that, lives on forever. It's always something that's going to grow. Yeah, someone could cut it down, but that's just ultimately what I want to become. I want to become one with the earth, because even if they cut a tree down, my roots are going to still exist. So that's something I always wanted to happen for me. But as far as being prepared, I've had a will since I was 18 years old. This is going to sound morbid, but when I was younger, for some reason, I had a couple dreams that I was going to pass away young. I've thankfully past the age that I thought that I was going to pass because of all these dreams, but I just for some reason had that premonition. So I had a will and I wrote it up and it's certified and everything since I was 18 years old. I have $150,000 in life insurance that I've been collecting and paying on for about 5 or 6 years now. So I want to make sure that my family is taken care of because people die young. I've had we're up to 14 people die that are from my grade. And I graduated 10 years ago, and they're already dead. So it can happen to anyone, and it can happen to me. So I always want to make sure they're taken care of.
That's important. That's really important. That. And I would actually even go back and up your fucking insurance policy, because it's only going to cost you maybe $20, $30, $50 more in life. But you can get, like, me and my husband both have $250,000 policy limits, and we pay $50. So it's like $100 a month for us each to have a pretty hefty life insurance policy. But
like $50 really. A month is nothing.
But I'm saying, $250,000 is really nothing compared to, like, funerals alone. You can get a cheap funeral. Like, we did it a cheap way, and it was almost $5,000, like $3,000 per person.
Yep.
And that was the cheap route. That was the very cheap route. We had a lot of family donate. We had family donating the hall and stuff. But it's about other bills. Like, people don't realize your bills, they go on to your next of kin. So, like, our sister had a mortgage, and we're taking on the responsibility of her mortgage. My mom had debt. We're taking on the responsibility of her debt. Like, your money, your debt, and your bills just don't die with you. They go on to your next of kin. And if your next of kin takes over your power of attorney, they have to take over those debts as well. So you really have to make sure that you're protecting your family, because I can tell you, man, like, it was, like I said, I haven't even grieved. I haven't, and on top of that, on top of everything else, you have to think of people who you're living with. So, for example, my uncle, he's 52. He's getting older and he's a little sick. He was living with my sister, and my sister died, and she didn't have any plan onto, like, who will take care of our uncle afterwards. And during the whole funeral for the 2 weeks, everyone was like, "Oh, I'm not taking him. I'm not taking him. I'm not taking him." And the only one who could financially take him was me and my husband. So we flew my uncle back with me, and now I have another financial burden on me to take care of my elderly uncle, to take care of my normal business, to go back into my normal life. And, like, I feel like if my family had life insurance, this grieving process would be a trillion times better, because I would actually be able to grieve and not be like, okay, well, that's over. Now we have to get back to work, Doug, what do you think about it? Like, you said Frederica sets it up, but I think that's something that you should definitely know yourself.
Well, I know that. Well, see, remember before where I was saying how Freddie does all the finances? Like, I know that we have two policies.
But the problem is, not to cut you off, Doug, but what if Frederica dies before you? And you know
that's a whole other thing. Because it's something that, like, just over the last maybe like over the last few months, we had just had a conversation about that, like with, 401ks and what was in what and blah, 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 blah. I do. So it's something there. But again, I know like with Federica is probably, there's probably like an envelope that she'll be like, okay, cool. In the top drawer, that's the envelope you open. Cause I'm just, I don't know, I just don't, I guess I just don't think that far, I just don't think that way. And that's not to say that things don't happen. But I do know, like, even I know, like, both my kids would go with my sister. I know that. If Federica and I both died.
And this is all written down.
Yes. I know
Perfect.
that. I know, like, for me, like, my older brother and my younger brother and my sister know that I want to be cremated, and Federica does. I want to be cremated, and I want my ashes to go back into the ocean. So there are some things, like, now I haven't gotten, there are some people in my family that are getting older, and they're really a lot more advanced in. They probably already have the freaking catering sorted out for their funeral, where, for me, I haven't, I don't know. I know that there's, maybe I should, maybe you're right. Maybe I should put a little bit more energy into it, at least knowing, like, what, okay, what's plan B? If something like that happens, what's plan B?
Because, but a lot of things aren't guaranteed. Like I said, we 100%, my mother had life insurance. We are 100% thought that they were going to cover it, and they didn't. So like you said, we had to have a plan B. And my plan B was just to cremate, do a small service, have my family do it. We have a family hall. So we used our family hall that's been in the family for generations to do the repast. But there are certain things that you don't think of what will happen. You always need a plan B, A, B, and C, and maybe even D, because you never know what will happen. And you don't want to leave your family with those. And I'm picky, so I already set an appointment with our family attorney, so we can actually. You're talking about catering. I'm going to write out who I want to cater, what I want, because there were fights. I'm coming out with so. As morbid as it was, I also saw the benefit of recording my whole experience, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that has been through that experience and who's going to go through it. So I recorded the arguments, the good times, the bad times. I recorded everything, and I'm working on a video to release on my YouTube called The Black Family Funeral, and I'm going to really show, like, what the average Black family funeral goes through. And I know I always talk about, like, Black rights and Black history, but what my family just went through is what I always talk about is generational wealth. Like, no one in my family has generational wealth. And if you don't know what generational wealth is, just go look it up. But like Robert Kiyosaki talks about it, all of the huge entrepreneurial, like self-improver people, they talk about it. But when you leave generational wealth, you leave like homes and cars and acreage for your family. And literally, this is how sad it was. So I went and got my mom's wallet from the police department. They released her wallet out of evidence. And I was just praying that she had some type of money hidden somewhere. So I'm going through her debit cards, and one of the debit cards says, like, you know how the automatic things, I had all her passcodes, and thankfully my mom's not too smart. She used her birthday for all her passcodes. So I was able to access a lot of things. And I accessed her savings account, and at first I knew it was going to say $0.00, but then it was like $5, and I was like, ooh, please say 100 or 1,000. Please say 100 or 1,000. And it was like $5. And at that point, I started to laugh, because I was just like, damn, Mom, you left me with $5. What am I can't even pull this out of the ATM. I got to actually go to the bank to pull this $5 out. And it just made me think, like, what do I want to, if I have kids or if I have family, what do I want to leave my family? That feeling that I've had, guys, the last 2 weeks, I would never wish anyone to have to bury two family members, a mother and a sister, and then not even be able to grieve, but just have to think about finances. Brandon, you're pretty young. Why haven't you thought about your death?
Like Doug said, I have not thought about it. And, me and my mom had this conversation when my dad had his stroke. And it was just, we were just chit-chatting about it. And I asked her, I was like, did Dad even have life insurance? And she said, yes, he do. And she does as well, as so as my little brother. And me and my aunt, we live in Seattle, so we're kind of the breadwinners since we get paid more. So I take care of my mom. She stays by herself. I take care of my dad. He stays with his uncle. And I take care of my older brother and his kid. You know, I have so much responsibility, and life insurance wasn't the, you know, the question I was just bring up randomly into my dad.
But to be completely honest, like that's the most important bill that you should have, especially if you're the breadwinner, because if you're gone, who's going to breadwin for your family?
Right.
You know, like if you, especially because that's kind of like my thing. As soon as that happened, when I actually went today and I got life insurance put on my uncle because he's now in my care. And if anything's were to happen to him, I'm going to need the money there to make sure he's taken care of. So if you are the breadwinner of your family, that's your most important bill is your life insurance, because that gives you insurance that even in death, you can still be the breadwinner for your family.
Yeah.
You know, so I definitely think you should look into that. That's more important to any AT&T bill, any cable bill. Your life insurance bill should always be your first bill, because I think as humans, we forget when you wake up, it's a blessing. When you open your eyes, you could have had an aneurysm and died in the night. When you get in your car, that could be the last time you get in your car. We take life such for granted. And I took life such for granted. For example, today I spoke to my attorney about the case, and I have court tomorrow, and we were going over all of everything that happened in court. And I looked at him and I said, you know, all of this is very minuscule in the grand scheme of life. I said, this court case, because before, as you guys know, I was freaking out about it and I was like killing myself over it. But now I'm at peace, because I'm like, whatever the outcome is, I still have life. If I'm found guilty, great, whatever. I'll do a year in jail, but guess what? I'm still alive. And I think that's the most important asset that humans have that we don't take advantage of, is our actual life. And that's why I wanted to emphasize that on this portion of my segment. Ending with Troy, what do you have to say about this? Like you said, you didn't have health insurance. You have a little one, so you have to think about your daughter. Like, what are you going to change now hearing all of this? Are you going to change something? What is your opinions on this, Troy?
Well, I was a flight attendant for a couple of years, and so I had to have life insurance because of that. So I have had life insurance in my life, but it made me realize at that point that, you know, I'm on a plane at any moment, anything can happen. You know, what about on the ground? So I was more concerned about getting insurance for my mom and making sure my mom and my dad had insurance and insurance for myself, because I wasn't a parent, and I just wanted to make sure they were good, so that if anything would happen, you know, we would be fine, because I know that they don't have any wealth. And now, though, it's something that I have been looking into for my daughter as well, just because, like you said, you just never know, and life is too short to not be covered. So,
and I think this whole topic, the reason I chose this topic, one, because it hit home with me the past couple of weeks, and it's something that humans don't talk about. We don't want to talk about our death. There's nothing guaranteed in your life except the fact that you will die. That's the only, and I remember my uncle told me that. He was like, Carlos, what's guaranteed in life? And I was like, he's like, nothing except for death. That's the only thing. You might be rich, you might be poor, you might be black, you might be white, you might be gay, you might be straight. But at the end of the day, the only thing that's 100% guaranteed, I will put my paycheck on it. One day you're going to die. Like, one day you're going to die. And I think that humans, we don't look at that and we don't put emphasis on it. And that's something that, you know, in this situation in my life, it's sad, but it's also gave me appreciation for life. It gave me an appreciation to do the things I have in life, to my health, like everything. Like, it made me appreciate everything. And like I said, it put, even with my court case, it put me at peace. And I was just like, you know, whatever the outcome is, I still have the opportunity to live, which is the most important thing. But I want to leave you guys with this message. Don't be afraid of death. Welcome it and be ready for it. But live your life as good and as well as possible, because every day, any day is not guaranteed. And I know my family wouldn't want me to be sad, but I'm financially like in shambles. But I keep telling myself, as long as I have oxygen drawing into my lungs, I will be able to take these bills and I'll be able to pay them off. As long as I have life, I will be able to make it to another day. And that's something that the dead do not have. So even in your worst spot in life, you might be in your worst position in life, but you still have life. So I'm sorry that this segment of Kicking It with Carlos was a little deep and hard, but it's something that as humans we definitely need to talk about. Definitely need to check ourselves to make sure that we have our life insurance and our whole life in ordinance and your will in ordinance and everything. But I will kick it with you guys next week. And like Troy says, make sure that you guys leave messages, leave comments, definitely donate, and kick it with us next. Actually, no, next week we're going to have a whole different segment, so it might be different. So just keep your eye out on social media.
All right, guys. So like Carlos said, if you're listening now, we changed the whole format of our show. We've been gone for 2 weeks because we've been working hard to get things together for what we're getting ready to do. So I'm going to give you a little bit about what's going on. We got some whole bunch of new segments going on. I'm not going to even give it to you because I want you guys to pay attention to next week. We got a whole bunch of new segments going on. We got some multiple day things going on. So if you're tuning in and you've been tuning in to us for the last couple of weeks, you don't want to miss it. What we're getting ready to roll out next week is something that's going to benefit you guys as well as change things around for us. So be ready for it. So next week is the launch and premiere of our new format, our new segments, and some new things. So be ready for it. We're now currently looking for talented singers, songwriters, and rappers, and the like thereof to feature on our weekly segment, Today in Music. If you'd like us to consider your work or would like to be considered, contact us today at savageonair@gmail.com, and be sure to include your name, your best contact number, links to your SoundCloud, Bandcamp, or individual tracks, and be sure to include the title Today in Music in the feature in the subject line, because we're excited to hear from you. If you're listening, be sure to follow us right here on Spreaker.com. Spreaker is very important because that's where we get all of our information from, and that's how we know who's really listening, who's tuning in, and that's the only way to really chat with us right in the moment, right now. So follow us, help us to determine if our content is connecting with listeners, as well as allow us to be chosen for various distribution platforms and sponsors. So please remember to like, share, and follow. Now we're going to kick things over with Doug with Savage Bullshit.
Doug?
Is it my turn? All right. Wow. Okay. Thank you, Troy. That's cool. Circling back to Carlos.
Oh, I know what we did. My bad.
Doug, you're really going to take a spot? We're going to have to fight for this? You're going to have to fight for this?
How about this? Mr. Rogers will acquiesce to the lady.
Yes, perfect. There we go. Anyway, listen.
My bad.
So it's fine. You know what? I fucking hate my intro music. I be booty popping to everybody else's songs, and then my fucking song comes on, and I'm like, what is this bullshit? So I'm going to change that up. But anyway, so I have an interesting game for you guys today. It is not going to be a charity game. It is actually just going to be a game for us to kind of loosen up and kind of get, to the swing of things. It's also going to be a game where you guys are going to get some very useful information because men seem to think they know it all. And you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I'm done. So, we're going to play a game that I'm going to call Savage TMI. So, you're going to get some trivia questions. You're going to learn some really good information to pass on to everybody you know. And you're going to feel a little bit uncomfortable. Now, Doug, I'm going to have you sit out and keep score for this game. And you know why? Because you are married. And by being married, I know that you know your wife from the top of her head to the tips of her toes. So I know you will know all the answers to these questions. Because today's topic is about the female anatomy. So I'm going to ask a bunch of trivia questions. Some are going to be multiple choice. Some are just going to be yes or no, true or false, yada, yada, yada. And whoever gets it right gets points, gets 5 points. Whoever gets it wrong gets none. Do we got it? We got it, Doug?
Got it.
Awesome. So I have Troy and I have Brandon, right? Do I still have Carlos or no? I don't know if I have Carlos. No. No Carlos? Wait, whose TV do I hear? I hear somebody's TV. Is it just me? I don't know whose TV that is. All right, well, for right now, I only have Brandon. Brandon, are you there?
I am here.
Troy just decided to dip on me, so I guess, Doug, you're going to have to be part of this game, because I don't know where Troy went.
All right, I will do my best.
And Carlos dipped out, right? So it's just Brandon and Troy, so I guess I will be keeping score. Okay, so let's shake it all out. Doug, you might get a little bit uncomfortable because I know Mr. Rogers doesn't like sexuality and uncomfortable topics, but.
Okay, are we talking boner jokes? Is that where you're going?
It's beyond that. No, it's really not. It's actually compared to what we normally talk about. It's probably cupcakes with cherries on top. So my first question.
Good.
Okay, you're like, good, just get to it. My first question is gonna be to Brandon, actually. All right, Brandon, you listening hard?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So the first question is, what are the two main functional parts of the outside of the vagina? Do you know there's two of them? So you got to give me both, the names of both. And I don't want you Googling this shit. You got like 10 seconds.
I probably don't know the word for it. I probably know another word for it.
Describe it.
Lips I'm going to say lips. If that makes any sense. You know, I'm gay, so.
I know. That's why I wanted you to have the first question.
And I guess I don't. A clitoris? Vagina. I don't know.
Look at you. You got it. You got it. It's the labia and the clitoris. So you are actually right. So that is the functional parts of the vagina. So you've seen your fair share of vaginas. I see you. All right. So we are going to go on to Doug. So far, Brandon, it is 5-0. So feel proud of yourself, Mr. Gay Gentleman. You got this.
So straight.
You're so straight today. Oh my God. All right, Doug. Okay, no, that one's too easy. No, that's way too easy for you. Okay. I gotta really dig for you. Okay, here we go. Ready? True or false? Shaving your vagina is essential in maintaining optimal genital health and hygiene. Is it true or is it false?
I'm going to go with false.
And why?
I think that the hair's there for protection.
Look at you. I am impressed. I am very impressed.
Now, me personally, I like a clean playing field, but I do know.
He likes well-mowed yard.
You know, but I do understand, like, you know, how, I guess, somewhat the evolution of human beings.
I got you. Good. I like that answer. It's very diplomatic and very just chillax. But the correct answer is yes, false. Shaving actually takes away our protective barrier against bacteria and STDs. Shaving does not make you cleaner, nor does it prevent odor. So a lot of women and men feel like a shaved vagina means it's cleaner, means it's not going to smell. No, it is not how it works. But, you know, there are things that aid to the odor or aid to, you know, protecting it if you do decide to shave. Because, you know, I mean, I myself, I prefer being bald. So I totally understand. It's just odd to me. But I don't my arms are bald, okay? So that's just how that works. But yeah, so good job. So 5-5. All right, so now we're back to Brandon. Okie dokes. Let's see. What am I going to ask Brandon? All right, I'm going to ask you something a little less awkward. Ready? The average woman's shoe size, it's actually multiple choice, okay?
Okay.
It's either 8.5 to 9, 6.5 to 7, or 7.5 to 8. What is the average woman's shoe size? American woman's shoe size.
I think 8 is 8 to 9. No. Oh.
Want me to tell you them again?
Yes, please.
8.5 to 9, 6.5 to 7, or 7.5 to 8.
7.5 to 8.
False. It was actually the one you were just about to say. It was 8.5 to 9. And I'm so happy because I thought I had like big old elephant feet, but because I wear a 9, so I feel a lot better now that I actually did this research.
Okay, good.
Wow.
Yeah, I could have sworn it was like 6 to 7 or something, because I swear those are the shoes that are always gone, and then we're left with like the big man foot like shoes, and I'm like, but the cute ones are always disappearing, and they're always the tiny sizes. I assumed that every girl's foot was like a 6.5. So
Right.
So that opened my eyes a bit. All right, Doug. Let's see. Let me see. We're gonna have to get you ready and prepared for this. So, what age does female puberty start? Is it between? It's multiple choice. Between 10 and 14 years old, between 8 and 13 years old, or between 6 and 10 years old?
Oh, let's see here. I'm going to go with 8 and 13.
Look at you. All right, so it's 10 to 5. Good job. So you got it right. It is between 8 and 13. Most girls, the average... What were you going to say?
And what's wild about that is... I would my instincts would say like 10 to 14, but I know that usually like the range is definitely for girls is on the younger side. So the 13 is kind of the
exactly
the giveaway.
The average like the base age is mainly 12. I know me, I started at 9, so I know the range is really wide, but I guess the median would be 12 years old. So look at you.
Right.
So the score is 10 to 5. All right, so we're going back to Brandon. All right, here, Brandon. Okay, here you go. True or false? A woman's brain forgets what labor pains feel like immediately after giving birth.
I'm gonna say true.
Why?
Wouldn't it feel different from one before? Before you had the kid. Wouldn't it feel different? I don't know.
Because
your vagina was like, it was open.
The brain, but does the brain allow you to forget how the pain feels? Like, does the brain, basically, you have a kid, it pops out, and you no longer remember what those pains feel like until you have another child, until it comes again, until you start getting those cramps and those contractions. Is that occur?
Pause. I'm gonna say pause.
Why?
Because at that point, you can't forget.
All right, so you're actually right. And the answer is actually pretty interesting because most women I've been told growing up in school in health class is that your brain allows you to forget the sensation of childbirth or contractions or things like that until you have another child. And that actually is partially true, but it's not. It's because when you have a child, women often experience what's called the halo effect, which is basically they're so happy, they're so overjoyed, they have so much euphoria about having a child, it numbs the brain's recollection of the way the pain felt. So that's basically how that works, and that's why people assume they're just forgetting what it feels like. No, if they think about it long enough, one bad day, they're gonna remember. But for that amount of time, when they're in the bliss of having a new child, they don't remember the pain that they just felt. So that's kind of why that works. So look at me, I'm learning, y'all. I got you.
Yes,
right?
Please.
All right, so we are still at 10 to 5. I think we got one more question left.
Okay. So Brandon, you didn't get that one?
No,
I didn't get that one.
You didn't.
Okay, so, right. Okay, we're at 10 to 5. Got it.
We're at 10 to 5. So, last question. This could either be a tie or this could be a win all, take all. Let's see. Let me see. I gotta make sure it's something simple enough. Okay. How long does the average menstrual cycle? Well, sorry, not menstrual cycle. Average period last. So the point when you start bleeding. How long does that last for? How many days?
Woo. 7.
No, wait, hold on. It can be between and between. I'll give that to you, okay? Between this and between
Good.
that.
Thank you.
So what's your answer?
You didn't give me any averages. I thought
I'm letting you give me between and between, and if the answer falls between that, I'll give you the answer. Okay. I'll say it's right.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna go. Okay. I'm gonna go with. It's gonna be between 3. It's between 5 and 8 days.
Nope.
Am I short or long?
You know what? Actually, you know what? No, I'll give it to you. I have to give it to you, Brandon, because it actually is between 3 and 5. So you're right. Between 3 and 5, and you got 5 in there, so that works.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I got it on the north end. Okay,
you got it on the north end. You were a little high there.
Okay, see, I don't know.
It may last 8 days for somebody. I don't know.
I don't know.
I thought it was different for all women.
So you took that one. So look at that. We all learned about the female anatomy. We got a little bit uncomfortable. Troy conveniently backed out of this whole conversation.
Dick rules.
I noticed that.
He conveniently backed out. It was, I had all this in-depth things that I was going to do some trickery with, but I had to pull out the stops because I know you're married and you're gay. So this makes it difficult.
Right. That's what you call
winging it.
Talk
off the cuff.
Right. That's what you call winging it. I love it.
That's what we call winging it because, Troy just ditched me. It's okay. He'll hear it when he gets back. Well, we got like 5 more minutes. Everything. Oh, what? What? Now you show up? Really?
I heard you guys. I couldn't be on the phone because there was too much going on at the time.
Oh my god. Okay, well, since I got like 10 more minutes because you decided to go MIA, I'm not asking no more questions. How about this? How about you guys ask me anything in these next 5 minutes, anything you've ever wanted to ask a girl that you were afraid to because you thought they would get offended?
How many holes do you guys have?
Wait, what? I didn't even...
Wow!
Wait, what?
Brandon coming in hot.
Wait, what was it? Ask again.
How many holes do you guys have?
I mean, to my knowledge, I have 3 that count.
Okay.
3 that count. Let's just say that. 3 that matter.
Thank you.
That's pretty good.
All right, Doug. Hit me with it.
Oh, man, don't ask me that kind of stuff. Come
Hit
on.
me with it.
Stuff
that Federica would never answer, even if you asked her to the end of time.
What? What's the question? I'm supposed to ask a question?
Ask me any question about females that you could not feel comfortable asking anybody else. Something that you were curious about. Or do you think that you know it all?
I definitely don't know it all. I'm going to go with that. I know enough to know that I don't know it all, and I have Troy calling. Pass the mic.
I got you. No worries,
go, Troy, go.
You are a smart man. You are.
Of course
I gotta give it to you.
We just listening. He's not playing no games. You're like, you won't get me out there tripping.
Right? Okay, fine, Troy. We on to you.
So, does size really matter?
Oh my God! Really? You asked the most basic ass question. All right, I'm gonna hit you with the truth. Ready? Ready?
Part 2. That's why. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes and no. No. Okay. Yes and no. Lengthwise, no. Widthwise, yes. Definitely matters.
Lengthwise, no.
No. Widthwise, yes. Lengthwise, no. Because you, as a female, you want to feel full. You don't want to feel like someone's drilling into you and touching your stomach. You want to feel like there's something in there. Like,
touching your stomach.
Got it.
Like, that's not how it goes. So, yes. So, like I said, the length, no, but the width does matter. That's what matters. What is the part 2?
Got it. Part 2 is, in that, when it comes to size, when it comes to faking it, is that something that's normal, or is that something that, like, it depends on the woman, or is that, like, part of it when it comes to sex?
Absolutely. That's absolutely part of it. And I believe it's like that for men, too. Not because you can't tell. You can tell, obviously. That's not it. I've actually had a gay friend of mine say they can easily fake, like, actually, like, having, like, an orgasm, I guess, with, like, stuff happening without actually feeling the sensation. And I didn't know that. I didn't know you guys could control shit like that.
Wait, what?
Blew my mind.
What?
I mean, let me know if that's true.
So he can just come sitting there?
Yeah, no, like, if he's trying to get it done with, like, he's not feeling the person, he could just pretty much, like you said, but without really feeling anything. Like, not really, like, just on cue. I didn't know you guys could do that. Or is that a thing?
I think he's just saying he can bluff.
Yeah, I mean, is that something you guys can actually, like, do without, like... I mean, I just feel like it's impossible because obviously you'll be able to tell if you're faking or not.
I'm not up on the cue. First of all, you're not getting that far with me to see me naked if I'm not interested in you. So there won't be no reason to fake it because it won't get that far. Like, no. Hello? That's why I'm trying to figure out the whole faking thing. Because my thing is, like, in regards to reality, like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. There's nothing saying, you know what, look it to the left, or you know what, it's not going to work.
Right,
you feel me?
right.
Like, I'd rather the honesty than to waste my time. And then you got a lot of these dudes out here thinking they got it when they don't. You feel me? Like, that's my issue. That faking shit has got a lot of guys out here thinking they can wax and do it, and they shit is trash. So that's why I'm like, does it really happen, or is it more so the person? Well, hey,
that makes sense. But for me, to answer your question, for me, no, I don't. I'm not about that life. Like, it's either there or it's not, and I'll let you know. You either got it like that or you don't, and I'm gonna let you know. That's basically how it is.
That's good. That's a good honesty policy right there.
I mean, I may hurt your feelings, but I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna give you knowledge for the next one, basically.
Oh, and there's nothing worse than like having a bad experience. You know what I mean? And then and you just don't. You feel like, whoa, that was really bad.
That was really bad.
That was bad. I'm not circling back on that one ever again. I think that brings up a very interesting one, which is like, if you know it's bad and the other person knows it's bad, it's like, I'm not going down that road ever again.
Damn. Mutual bad? I've had mutual bad once or twice. It didn't get far. It was just like, trying to get into it, didn't work. Yeah, this is not going to work. That's happened a couple times. And I'm like, okay, cool. Time to go.
All right, Brandon. We got 2 more minutes. Do you have another question for me? Troy, you just made this go all kinds of sideways. Now we getting all personal. Like, it was supposed to be educational, and now we just getting all nitty gritty. I was trying to be civilized, but it's just not working out this way.
You said a question and you want to ask it women. I had to find out.
I don't have any other question. That was it. That clicked in my mind when you asked me that question. I was just like, yeah, I'm going to go.
I have one more question.
All right, what's up?
All right, cool. So,
why do you seem like you're prepared for this?
When it comes to women, and men and men are different. When it comes to, like, for instance, how is it easier for women to be friends with a guy that they really, really like without telling him, versus and then be at some point show your interest? Like, why is it like? Because I know as a man, I can't be friends with somebody that I really, really like that. Like, you gonna know it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I think we're really cool, but I like you. But there's been women in my life who have been just my friend, who wanted it to be something else, but, didn't come at it from that standpoint. They just was my friend, and then things changed. So I'm like, how could you be with somebody and be their friend for months and not tell them that you like them or have a crush on them, but yet it's nothing like that? Because I feel like when you finally bring it up, is that not weird? Like,
I feel like people do that for observance purposes. Like, I feel like you want to stay friends with that person and you don't want to let them know that you like them, because one, that can change a friendship. It can make it awkward. It can make it end. And then 2, you kind of want to stay friends because you find out a lot of stuff about people from being their friend first. You find out a lot about them. You could tell it's, their idiosyncrasies. Maybe they do things that irritate the shit out of you that you could never be with, but you still think they look good. You could still want to smash, but you still don't want to fuck with the friendship. So I think that's kind of why people can go years and years and years and being friends with somebody that they are physically attracted to or think that they may have something with, but something could be holding them back. Either they want to hold on to the relationship, or some of the stuff that they know that they do as a friend, which is only going to get worse if you start getting romantically involved. They're like, nah, I can't deal with that. So I feel like that's kind of where that comes from, and why people can just kind of stay friends with people that they, would otherwise get with if they weren't friends to begin with. That's my opinion. I feel like everybody should be open and honest with each other. Even if you are friends and you agree to stay friends, be honest with each other. Say, hey, listen, I think you're gorgeous. If you were single, or if, we weren't friends, I would love to have a chance with you, but I love our friendship. I want us to continue being friends. If in that might, in essence, make the friendship stronger, because you have that kind of like open and honesty. Even if the other one doesn't feel the same way, it's still just getting it out there and getting it out in the universe, because you never know, it could circle back and end up for, a whole nother way. So that's how I feel about it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
trying to figure it out, because I feel like I never really see that with guys. I know guys be friends with girls, but it's like they're creepos. So of course they're gonna say something after some point. And I feel like
no,
with women
because Troy, not necessarily. I've had a friend that I guess like 5 years ago may have told me, hey, I had the hugest crush on you, and I've known him since I was 8 years old. So basically, like, that's how that went. And he didn't say a single word. I had no idea, no inkling that he liked me or anything. I wouldn't have stayed friends with him that long because I was with my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time. I'm not with being friends with people I know like me.
Because you like me. I can't be your friend. You like me now. See, that's
no, that's not what I'm saying. Because of who I am, I don't associate with people I know have feelings with me because I'm married or because I'm in a relationship. Because me being around that person is disrespecting my relationship because I know they're looking at me in a way that the person I'm with would not like. They're undressing me with their eyes. It's a disrespect. So that's kind of just how I feel. But everybody would feel the same way. Why are you getting mad? Why do I feel like you getting heated at me?
I'm not heated at you. I just want to know,
joking.
Because I feel like, I can't be like, if I really like somebody, like I might be a friend you might be friends with them and then realize like, wow, I really like them. But I just feel like the honest thing was like, bring it up and joking maybe like, man, if we weren't friends, because I've dated some of my friends, like some people like that came like really close best friends because I felt like, that's what happens sometimes. You connect with somebody like, oh shit, like we connected really good. But then you realize like, wait, if the relationship goes sour, then we lose each other.
Exactly.
So yeah, let's just be friends and let's keep it that way.
You just answered your own question, buddy.
But it was just I was from a women's standpoint. We're asking about women, right? I'm asking about women and what.
I mean, I can't speak for all women. All women may feel exactly the way you do, Troy. For me, I feel like it's better to just, wait out a friendship and then eventually tell someone, how you feel, but then still be observant. You may still have a chance with that person down the line. It just may not be your time. So I think open and honesty is the best way to go. But that is the end of my segment. This was awesome. I loved being off the cuff. We enjoyed ourselves. I love how Troy conveniently exited out of the conversation with all the anatomy questions. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm going to get you back. I'm going to get you next week.
I knew it. Shut up. I knew it.
I got you. But we're going to skate over to some politics with Doug. And here we go.
Well, people of podcast land, what's happening? It's Mr. Doug Carey on Los Angeles, California. Hello. So I'm going to talk a little bit about politics, but also just, full disclaimer up front. I'm not a journalist. I'm going to give my opinion. I'm going to ask other people their opinion. So it's a lot more commentary, not necessarily satire so much, but just commentary. But just know that I, too, like everybody else, am very concerned where we are right now in the United States and in the world, and scratching my head and wondering what's real and what's not real and how best to navigate that. And it could be partially, being a dad that I kind of feel like maybe a responsibility to figure that stuff out. But with that being said, from time to time I follow politics. And so these are the two things that kind of jumped up on my radar today, and we'll talk about them. The first one is there's a Playboy model named Karen McDougal, and Karen McDougal had a relationship with Donald Trump back in 2006, and she had sold her story to American Media Corporation Incorporated, and America Media Incorporation basically is the National Enquirer. And what they did, which was pretty interesting, is they gave her $150,000 and then they suppressed the story, which I thought was really fascinating. And so rather than her selling the story to, I don't know, CNN or Vanity Fair or whatever, what this particular company does, American Media Company, is what they do is they purchase these stories from people, and then they kind of like have the people sign these non-disclosure agreements, and then the stories kind of get shelved. And so today, the court ruled in her favor, and they came basically, Karen McDougal and America Media Incorporated, National Enquirer, came to an agreement, and the agreement was they were going to give her back her story about the 10-month relationship that she had with Donald Trump back in 2006. And then what she agreed to in the settlement was that she was going to give American Media Incorporated the first $75,000 that she makes from the story. So if she gets a book deal or whether she sells it to blah, 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 Rolling Stone or fill in the blank, the first $75K is going to go to the people that had the non-disclosure agreement, and then she'll be able to, I guess, own her own story and own her own life. And so I thought it was an interesting story, but I really wanted to ask you guys, what are your ideas on that? Like, do you think that it's fair that a company can kind of corner somebody with a non-disclosure agreement? Maybe the person thinks that they're getting the money so that they can tell the story, but then the company actually buries the story for political reasons. Because this came up again. These are it's a conservative company that supports Donald Trump. So I'm going to go, Troy, to you on this one. Like, what do you think about that? Do you think that a company should be able to buy a story and then suppress it like that?
No, I think that they did it on purpose because they knew what they were doing. I feel like if you're out here, based on her story in regards to Trump and being connected, you should know that trying to do anything that's connected to him is going to be an issue, no matter what it is, because he's currently the president. So It's not right. It's in no way right. It's her story, and it happened to her. And she's not the only one that experienced something like this. There's tons of women now coming out about all these celebrities and people have done things to them. It's her right to tell her story. We have the First Amendment right based on, to be freedom of speech. So I think that going out and to get for that company, doing it with that company is what screwed her. Because that company that she dealt it with, for them to have the access and that cost to do that is what you can do. You can do it nowadays. You can write a book yourself and get your own publishing and do it all your own self. You still need to work with a major distributor to get it out and do things like that. But there's ways around it. And I felt like that no matter what you do, when you're dealing with a person like Trump and him being the president, there's no way they're going to let anything make him look better than he already does.
Quick question: right. What was her motive on handing the story out? What was her purpose of her handing the story to that company?
Probably the $150,000.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Maybe her motivation was, I'm going to get the money, and then the stories, she got the money, which is her prerogative. But what's interesting is just that the story kind of, I just find it really fascinating that companies can purchase something to bury it. I just find that, I find that really interesting. And Brandon, did you want to add anything on this one? Because I have another story that kind of ties to this, but I'd like to know what you think. Like, do you think that this company, the American media company, since we know kind of that's what their practice is, do you think that they have like a bunch of other stories that maybe the American people or the world should know and that they're kind of owning and hiding?
I kind of feel like kind of nothing is safe at this point. Whatever you give to anybody, like Troy said, is Trump. He's the president, so he's going to find out anything regardless. So I think anything you have against him would just be a shot in the face. It's going
to be used against you.
You said what?
It's like the police say. Anything you say will be used against you. That's how it is. You got to think against Trump. They got to use it against you.
Real
quick. She kind of should have did more research on that company before she gave it out just to anybody. Mm-hmm. I would have done more research on that company before I wanted to release that story.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys.
So it kind of backfired in her face.
I just want to say something real quick before I forget. Is this kind of like when people, how websites don't let you delete reviews anymore because it's public knowledge and it should be there for people to decide whether they're for you or against you? Is it kind of like that? Because if so, then I feel like it's completely, I'm going to use my word again, unethical for somebody to be able to kind of bury a story. Just from saying, hey, we have the rights to this. Let's bury it now. Let's just throw it away. Like you said, is there something else people are hiding? Like this company is hiding or companies are hiding that Americans or people need to know?
Well, I think that, the non-disclosure agreement is just pretty straightforward. And it's like, we're buying your story and then we're going to own, Karen McDougal's story in respect to the Donald Trump affair. That property, that idea is actually owned by somebody else. It's just fascinating. But I'm going to shift gears over to another story similar but this one has a little bit more depth to it. So Stormy Daniels, I know it's a gigantic story out there, and this is two things that are really cool. One, I think Stormy Daniels should be really praised right now because the money that she just donated, $130,000 to Planned Parenthood, which I think is really great.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Which is really cool. So Stormy Daniels kind of found herself. Everybody knows there's this story with Stormy Daniels and Stormy Daniels. And I'm going to tie this back into Trump and a similar story. So Stormy Daniels has this affair with Donald Trump. Stormy Daniels basically, through this third party, Michael Cohen, he decides that he's going to give her this non-disclosure agreement similar to Karen McDougal. He's going to give her the money. And then she's going to be hush-hush about it. But what starts to happen is that the question becomes whether or not Donald Trump actually signed the non-disclosure agreement. And then there's this other looming question of whether Donald Trump knew that the transaction of trying to suppress the story even happened. Okay, so there's two or three kind of tentacles that start spinning. But here's what gets really interesting. The $130,000 that Cohen did or didn't give with Donald Trump's knowledge or not knowledge, what's fascinating is that the $130,000 is falling under this campaign finance law. So if you gave Donald Trump $130,000 toward his campaign, you'd have to show that on the books. His campaign finance company would have to show, yes, we received $130,000 from Michael Cohen for the Donald Trump campaign. No big deal. But what's interesting is that Donald Trump has all these other legal problems going on that the FBI is driving toward with Russia and sanctions and collusion and so forth. But And so Donald Trump right now is desperately trying to sue, or I'm sorry, he's desperately trying to fire Rosenstein and Mueller, who are the two top people in the FBI. Okay, but what gets interesting with the next story is that the state of New York, Mueller had given information to the state of New York, and the state of New York basically have their own investigation against Donald Trump. Now, the people who are the prosecutors in the state of New York, they can't be fired by Donald Trump. So Mueller gives information to the state of New York, and the state of New York, basically what they do is they get these warrants and they go to Michael Cohen's hotel, and they go to Michael Cohen's office, and they go to Michael Cohen's hotel room, office, and there was a third place, and his home, and they got over 1 million documents, and as they're legally through a warrant. But what's fascinating is it was the non-disclosure agreement from Stormy Daniels that kind of started this whole thing going. And there's this other little kind of plot point to the side, in that Stormy Daniels is also claiming that that Donald Trump had basically sent somebody to tell her that threatened to hurt her, threatened her life and her kid's life. So that's another real interesting one too. So I guess my question there is, are the three of you aware of this other thing that's kind of spinning around and how separate they are, and who else do you think will be implicated as now that they've got this, over, I think it's like 30 years worth of information going backwards with Michael Cohen. What do you think about that, Brandon? Does that seem like Trump is in more trouble and that other people are going to get exposed?
Depending on what those documents were, I haven't read up on this, and this is a really interesting topic because it kind of leads into the first one. It does lead into the first story that you had. It really depends. So you telling me that Cohen was sponsoring Trump's campaign?
He's Trump's personal attorney.
Okay.
And so as Trump's personal attorney, what he did was he paid off Stormy Daniels. And if he actually did pay off Stormy Daniels, then because it was during the 2016 campaign, that money should have been recorded with the finance committee for for Donald Trump's campaign.
So where'd the money go? If it was
well, I think the money that Stormy Daniels got, she donated to Planned Parenthood, which is great. But what's fascinating is this. It's like this, other story of her getting paid off as hush money. All of a sudden, starts spinning into another area of campaign finance, which then starts spinning into another area of actually extortion, threatening her life, which then spins into, once they had raided Michael Cohen's office, now all of the deals that Michael Cohen has done from today, let's say backwards, the last 30 years, all those documents have been seized. So Michael Cohen kind of prides himself on being one of these like quasi-mob boss attorneys like Sammy the Bull, one of those guys that, he's not really like a guy that goes into court very often, but he sure does, lean on people and give a lot of advice to criminals. And so what's interesting to me in this round of documents that have been seized, Donald Trump, who has a tendency to really tee his family up into the businesses, Ivanka and Donald have a lot of business ties together. Jared and Donald have a lot of business ties together. Eric and Don Jr. have a lot of business ties together. And so I'm really curious to see, as the documents start coming out, how close, whether or not his family members or the kids are going to be indicted. That's really interesting to me. What do you think about that, Troy? Any thoughts? Troy kind of boogied out, I guess. I don't know.
Did he boogie out again?
I don't know.
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
My phone was on mute while you were talking, and I was across.
So did you kind of hear the backstory of what we were talking about?
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of drama. Like, first of all, I didn't know that. You said that she had got paid the money already, right? Like,
yeah.
So, I mean, once they already paid you the money, you hushed up, then there is no story. Like, I didn't know that. I didn't hear that part. If you physically signed over your rights to what you were saying and you got paid money for it, there is no story. You decided that you gave up your right to that story. So there is no, you can't come back later and say, oh, well, I want to write a book. You can't do that. You signed it. You won't say anything and they gave you money for it. You could have said, no, I'm not taking $150,000. I want $2 million. You decided to take that $150,000. So now it's on you.
Okay. And so, and then I like your train of thought, but here's her rebuttal. Her rebuttal and her attorney's rebuttal is the agreement was never signed by Donald Trump, so there's not a deal. See, that's where I'm totally cool with you up to that point. And when you ask Donald Trump, he shrugs his shoulders. He's like, I've never heard of this girl before, and you got to ask Michael Cohen. Okay, so now it starts to get real fishy, and then you ask. And then when you ask Michael Cohen says what he did was he paid the $130,000 in good faith to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump didn't know. So now all of a sudden you're like, well, why would, like, I don't know about you, but the attorneys, the attorneys that I've met don't work for free, and they don't pay $130,000 bills without something in exchange, for currying favor or something in exchange. And so what's funny is either Cohen's lying or Donald Trump's lying. One of the two of them are lying. Either Trump's going to say that he didn't know, which means then that Can I say something? Sure.
How does Mike Cohen have this agreement anyway? How does he have her signature on this agreement if they've never happened. So if there's a letter, if there's a document saying hey, whatever we discussed that was in there, right? Only thing missing was Donald Trump's signature. That means there's a date on there. That means that the info was there. That means that a discussion was made for a lawyer to draw paperwork. So what do you mean he made it up?
Well, again, what's being in question is Stormy Daniels wants to be able to tell her story, but she can't tell her story because of this non-disclosure agreement, similar to the right. So that's what she's arguing.
But she took the money, no matter what, whether we're signed or not. She took the money, so she shouldn't have took the money. That's an agreement, regardless if you signed it dotted line or not. You still agreed to the money. You took the money. You could have said no. His signature's not there. I'm not verified, and whatever. You decided to take the money.
But I guess she was doing something nice since she gave the money to Planned Parenthood. I'm talking
and now let's jump one step further. Okay, so she takes the money. Why do you think Michael Cohen gave her the money?
Well, he had to give her the money to be quiet, obviously.
Okay, and then do you think that Donald Trump knew Michael Cohen gave him the money, or do you think Donald Trump's lying when he says that
he orange? I don't trust
Michael Cohen's claiming that he's like this rogue agent, that he just decided that he was going to, give this lady money because he loves Donald Trump. And if that's the case, then we have a problem with campaign finance laws, because the money should have been recorded as a donation to the Donald Trump campaign.
That's the truth right there. That's it. What's missing is it should be exactly what you just said. Hands down. That's exactly why there should be more restrictive laws when it comes to campaigning. Because someone like Donald Trump, his fool self, can come in with all his millions of dollars and you put that money into his campaign and write it off on his taxes, and now he's president. But someone else, who didn't have the money, but there were stricter laws that would stop those kind of things. I just feel like it's all a big sham. All of it. Politics, all of it's a sham.
It's going to get...
They asked her to know what she was doing.
You think so? Okay. Well, I think there you go. We're probably going to wind this particular, Politican Talk with Doug, talking about what's going on in our politics and stuff. I appreciate the love and the ideas and the feedback. Everybody's got great ideas. We're going to jump into the next segment, which is with myself. I'm still listening, and we're going to roll that thing about now. Hit it, Lady C.
We're going to Today in Music, guys. Bye.
All right, guys. Time for Today in Music. And so with Today in Music, something that's going on in our big event, Coachella, of course, everyone knows it's going on, it's happening, and, it's been the talk of music and everything that's going on. But really the talk of it is Beachella. Because apparently Beyonce slayed, and she didn't care what no one says. She came in and changed her name and everything. Brandon, can you be my filler on this today? Because I know you got a little more Coachella experience than me.
Let me tell y'all. Okay, if you guys don't know what Coachella is a huge music festival that takes place in Indio, California.
I know you hate me right now. I just want to say, please tell Troy it's not Coachella, because that just sounds crazy.
It's Coachella.
Coachella.
That's all I knew was Beachella.
Goodbye.
He's doing the Puerto Rican girl version.
Courtney, don't come for me. That's my Harlem accent.
All right, Brandon. I'm so sorry. I won't interrupt you anymore. Continue.
You guys are stupid. Coachella. Okay. It was a mistake. He's okay. I got you, Troy.
Thank you so much. Come on, Brandon. Tell him what
Coachella is a huge music festival in Indio, California, and it takes place over 2 weeks. Headliners perform their hottest music, pop, country, EDM, R&B, rap. You get to meet and greet the celebrities as well. This year, I feel like it was the most, I'm going to say, lit year. Due to the fashion of celebrities, the upcoming celebrities, new celebrities, new albums, beef going on. This year was kind of the most money-making for Coachella ever. And when I say Beyonce killed, I know you guys are tired of everybody, me, Carlos, talking about Beyonce, but I can't not talk about Beyonce. The bitch wore 5 Balmain Paris outfits, handmade. If y'all don't know anybody know who Balmain Paris is?
So you hear about him on all the rap songs and all the good, if you know fashion, you know Balmain.
You keep it up a little bit. You keep it up. So Balmain made handmade outfits, sweaters, and even made the Destiny Child's entire wardrobe for that number. And did anybody see that performance at all?
I saw clips of the performance. I saw that outfit. They look like DK is back, baby. That gave me so much.
You know what? And that was my question. Do you guys think that Destiny Child will ever make another single or an album in the future?
Don't they hate each other?
On the low.
Oh, girl. No, it's just other people's careers took off faster than others. That's what I think. And that's just jealousy.
Yeah, that's like,
I think they hate each other, but it's okay.
I think they need to do another album. I feel like, look at where we are now with girl groups and all that kind of stuff. No one still had brought it to us like Destiny Child has. I felt like Janet Kane was going to be that. They were on the rise.
Yeah.
Right, and said someone's career being a little more better than someone else. Egos, pride, all that shit. And they broke up. They were like
every girl group, basically, yeah.
Come on, for what? Like, let's get it together. So I feel like if DK can bring it back and give us another song or two, then I'll give hope that these girl groups can actually survive.
Yes, sure. I hope so too.
Hey guys.
And another thing I want to talk about is Cardi B. Can we
oh my God. Goodbye.
Very quick. Cardi B is pregnant and looking better than ever. Because the girl has been stressing over this album, and then with the beef with Nicki Minaj, it's kind of too much on her. But she still got on that stage on a white-on-white custom-made Alejandro collection.
Look at you coming with the designers, Brandon.
Dude,
what?
And she was just popping it while she was pregnant. Every celebrity that was on her album came and supported her. She didn't let that beef petty shit get in her way. She still went to Coachella and made that money. And then she did a whole remake of the TLC outfits. So I really hope you guys go check that out.
I saw those ponytails, how they did that.
Right.
That shit gave me left out all day. It was real, like, when I first saw it, I was like, is that the TLC stuff? I didn't even know that until you said it just now. That's how I felt when I saw her. But now that you said that, it made me live. It made her live even more. Shout out to Cardi B, man. She's doing
Doug, Mr. Music Man, is awfully quiet about Coachella.
Well, I saw some of the clips. I saw some of the clips. I gotta say, you know what? I'm gonna say two really funny things. Well, not very funny, but two things. One, I think that the big explosions in the shows and all that stuff. Both of them are great. They're over the top performers. They're over the top production and performances and stuff like that. I love it. It's great. It's campy. But now here's the second part. I also know where that place is. It's like about, I don't know, maybe like 100 miles from my house or so, 120 miles. And it's fucking hot out there. So, and now here's the part where I'm going to be a dick. There's a white rapper, and he's from Detroit, and I had tickets to go see him, and I was Eminem. Like, okay, and I was like, I'm not gonna go out into the heat, I'm just not gonna go out into the heat, and so I dipped. I literally dipped and was like, I am no Coachella fool this year. But so that's as much. I do love it. I think it's great. Here in it. What happens here is it ends up being, because they do it in 2 weekends, right? So yes. The bands kind of start to come into town, and then they're here and they're all kind of up in Hollywood, and then they roll out to do the show, and then they roll back and they're here in town. So a lot of times you see the bands cruising around in Hollywood and they're doing press. Some of them will do shows. And then there's another crop of bands that goes back out. So because it's now a 2-week thing, it ends up being like 3 weeks here, where it's like the week before the actual weekend, the kind of lull weekend, and then the next weekend. It's pretty interesting, But it's it's massive. It's
chime in?
Massive. Yeah.
I miss when Coachella was about indie rock bands or indie electronica. I just don't. Since the whole Kanye West thing, I don't like that it's becoming mainstream, and I miss the essence of it being just a regular kind of like down home, super popular though, but like down home festival where you get to see and discover new bands, kind of like a Warped Tour, and I kind of miss that Coachella. I don't know. I'm not interested in seeing people I see on the Grammys. That's not what I would go to Coachella for. And I feel like that's just kind of like why I'm bitter.
Well, I think they've changed the format of how they've done it has changed up quite a bit, but also, the first time they did Coachella to where they are now, music has totally changed.
Very true. Very true. And
changed.
And not even that, people have changed. People's attention span is not where it used to be. So you need the hottest, sexiest thing on the stage to get people to keep your sales afloat. People don't really want to discover like they used to want to discover. Like I remember when I was younger, all I loved to do was listen to people no one has heard of, like people that around me have never heard of, and they're like, who the fuck is that? I was like, you don't need to know, he's just for me and me only. Like, but now you have to have the person that everybody's in love with on your stage for anyone to notice that you're an outstanding festival. So I don't know. That's just my issue.
Right. Troy, no, Troy, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just saying that Courtney. I was like piggybacking on what she was saying. Like, she knows what's up. She knows what it takes to have to, shell out to get the big names there to have people come, which sucks because if you have the love for it, then you should want to do it anyway, especially when it's in your city. So I got to go to my first festival because of you, because of Courtney, because of that. So I thought that was important. So yeah, I mean, I never heard of it.
Thanks, Troy.
Teamwork, girl. You rock, girl. You really do. Like seeing behind the scenes and seeing how you make things happen. It really means it means a lot. And I got to see it up close and personal. So you work hard.
I'm gonna cry.
Don't cry. Come on. Put the chest out. Don't cry. But yeah, it's about that time. We got to kick things over to Still Listening with Doug. But thank you guys for tuning in, and come on, Brandon. Brandon came out. He's a star tonight. You really came on out.
Brandon, don't go away because I got a great track for you coming up.
Okay. Am I gonna twerk, Doug? Because you gonna throw my back out. Like I can't do that.
I'm so excited that you better just start rolling the music now. Start rolling the segment thing now, and I'll start talking. That's how excited I am.
Hey everybody, welcome to I'm Still Listening. I'm your host Doug Carrion, and in this segment I'm going to be highlighting the coolest independent hip-hop, indie rock, and electronic music now available on SoundCloud. Check it out.
All right. Welcome. Now we're going to drill into this one. In my travels, I found an artist that is so over the top, and it's a gal from Detroit. Her name's Rocky Bad with 2 B's, and it is as over the top as the first time I saw NWA. I'm gonna go that heavy. Okay, so Rocky Bad. Okay, so here's the setup. The first song I'm doing, I got 2 people from Detroit. The first song, it's by an artist named Rocky Bad with 2 D's, okay? The song's called Vindictive. If you like the music, you can find it at soundcloud.com, hip-hop-sauce, number 1. Again, hip-hop-sauce, number 1, and that's where you can check it out. The song's called Vindictive, and it goes like this.
Fuck it is. B. It ain't gonna like this one. I mean, what the fuck did y'all think was gonna happen though? Do y'all not know what the fuck I do? This type of shit right here keep me going. Bitch, you're not. Slow down for what? But disappointed. Who you in front of?
Look, who holding my city down? You can't name no one else. Post a flyer for a show, then I came by myself. Fuck niggas thought I don't hang with the help. I ain't asked for this shit. I played the hand I was dealt. You said I'm motivation, right? You look goofy as shit. You just a cute broke bum, chain icy and shit. Shooting vids, but wear the same clothes twice in them shit. But you went and touching the chicken dog who writing them shit. I swear they pussy and they frauds. I ain't liking this shit. I'm Big B, yo big homie. I ain't fighting this shit. Put this pole down your throat like I'm piping this bitch. When I'm round, I'm snatching souls. Bitches quiet as shit. I guess these niggas heard I'm single. Okay, now they tryna fuck. I made bitches put it up, cause if they don't, they get in touch. Not a shame, I'm from the bottom. We ain't really come from much. I made bitches leveled up and made them pick that metal up, cause it's the real B. Bitch, who with this rap shit? It's me. Bitch, I'm a West Side legend, that's Queen. Shit, you ain't jumped off the porch, you ain't seen shit, cause it's the real B. Bitch, who with this rap shit? That's me. Bitch, I'm a West Side legend, that's Queen. Shit, you ain't jumped off the porch, you ain't seen. Even when I'm on chill, anywhere I stand out. How bitch is so tough, whole time head down. Shouldn't have said my name, I got the upper hand now. You was shook when I seen you, I gave you a pass now. How the fuck a bitch gon' mimic being flex? Claim she up next, fuck to shoot 'em up, bang, but ain't did shit yet. Not with nobody, you don't really be on shit. You don't slide down no block, you don't pop at no bitch. It ain't even real beef, y'all just some internet hoes. I'm the same one who told you, Joe should buy your ass some clothes. When I seen you, I seen hoe. What I fuck your nigga know? Lil B, I'm grown as fuck, my pussy fatter than your nose. When I seen you, you was froze. You ain't even have a chain on, shoulda cheese at your ass and told you quit it with the lanes real. Bitch, I ain't no bully. These bitches can't get to me, that bitch know that she can't whip me. So wrapped up, then I'm before you had a name, you was all on my dick. Kept posting me and my bitch, I was posing with that stick. Then you got some fame and start copying my shit. People think you made a wave, but you just copied off my shit. You don't do this rap shit, mommy, you just wanna follow. It's facts that I made you, you should've tried modeling. These bars right as fuck, I got a lot of shit that's bottled. Talking numbers like you Nicki, but it's only kids that's following. When shit get real, y'all make calls and say it's over. Been the same bitch who used to post up on the corner. In the club off Patron, probably standing on the sofa. Hey, for what, Lil B? You want a gun when you ain't even from the road? Better try that shit again. And your fans think you got it. Why you lie to them again? Wanna keep it strictly music, I'ma body her again. All these fake tough pages, I know it's probably her again. Joseph told me, Rocky, you the coldest in the city. So why the fuck you trying to make your artist go against me? She probably write her shit, but them guns, you can't convince me. Listen, you are not a shooter, you ain't never low to send me. You ain't got enough muscle for that Draco not to kick back, little boy head, bitch. I know you scared to get your wig snatched. Begging on a dollar, little hoe, I wouldn't have did that. You ain't bought it if that address ain't exactly where you live at. I tried being nice, but I'ma tear your ass apart. On my mama, you was scared to see, I really got a heart. I know niggas geeking you, you could've played it smart, but now I gotta sheath to you and really make it hard.
I swear to God, I seen the episode spot. When I see bitches is not with that shit for real, like, hoes don't bully you, bitch.
This rap filled with corny niggas, I ain't got a lot. Some of my niggas don't rap and I ain't really got a lot. You do it for an image, you ain't really on the block. And that shit so disrespectful, bitch, I really did a lot. Rapping like you bought it when we clearly know you not. Little bitch, I hold weight, I swear to Chris, you can get dropped. Type of bitch, you drop the gun, they can't even run a spot. She so grown, but when I hold her, niggas acting like she not. Cause it's the real B, bitch, who with this rap shit? Me, bitch, I'm a West Side legend, that's Queen. Shit, you ain't jumped off the porch, you ain't seen shit.
Wow. Now that's what I call savage. Straight out of Detroit. I love it. Rocky Bad. I love it. With 2 D's. Rocky Bad. Incredible. Incredible. You got to check her out. Do the YouTube thing. Do the SoundCloud thing. It's great. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, next track goes like this. Song number 2. The guy's name's Babyface Ray. The song's called Miami in November. If you like it, you can find it on SoundCloud.com. Maricino-Mars, which is, we post the links anyway, so if you like it, just check out the links. We'll get you going. SoundCloud.com. Miami in November. Babyface Ray. It sounds like this.
Man, I'm talking about Miami in November. Still in Montclair, just a polo, cause I can't wear a coat down here. Still pulled up like I done caught a cold down here. On the yacht, man, I should've brought the pole out here. Thank God I'm still here. No, I really don't. Had to run my checkup, I got money they'll kill you for. I had to cut your bitch off. She a silly hoe, trying to settle down. I keep telling her I'm chillin' though. Niggas be competing with me. Speaking on me, that's gay. Why you thinking about me? Think about how many racks I can see in a week. Don't get tricked off the streets trying to make them believe. See, that's the difference between you and me. You care about what people thinking, I'm just trying to eat. Braids nappy than a bitch, bankroll fleet. Young niggas count thousand while I smoke OG. Come fuck with me. Miami in November. Tell them I be gone to December. I be back around January. With a bitch cold in February. Miami in November. Tell them I be gone to December. I be back around January. Many streets cold in February. VIP section at Live. Online looking for a crib. At the mall shopping for my kids. Drinking lean in. Chris look how a nigga live. I know some niggas went fed, kept their people fed. Guess it's a crime getting bread, I just shake my head. You might catch me pushing coops, used to ride on pegs. Man, I went from rags to riches like my nigga Vez. Politicking about them bands, motherfucker friend. Baby, I'm a trendsetter, I don't follow trends. Yes, this is my life, I cannot pretend. But the shit I had to do, I wouldn't recommend. I was told to be a champ, you gotta take a chance. You believe in something, better take a stand. That's why I'm standing on this money, sticking to the plan. I just got back from Miami, about to go again. Miami in November. Tell them I be gone to December. I be back around January. With a bitch cold in February. Miami in November. Tell them I be gone to December. I be back around January. Many streets cold in February.
Yes. See, Doug, you be coming through. Does Frederica know you be hard though? Does she know, or do you just listen to Hungarian death metal when she's at the house?
That was amazing.
That was awesome. That's awesome. Like I said, he be throwing my back out. I'm tired. I need to go take a nap. It is the end of the show, guys. Thank you so much for coming back with us. We had 97 listeners today, guys. That is a whole 20 listeners than we ever had. So thank you so much for following from us from week to week and being with us and supporting us through our break. Next week, we're going to have 2 shows next week, but we're not going to tell you why. We're not going to tell you when. We're just going to tell you it's at 8 o'clock, and we're not going to tell you when it's going to end because you're going to have to listen. And we got so many surprises, so many new segments that we want you to be there for. Chat with us. Let us know how you like them, what you think about us, and what you think about our new show. But please be here same time next week, 8 o'clock. And then also on Thursday, be with us again at 8 o'clock. Please do not miss it. You'll miss something awesome. You are at the ground level. We want to keep you guys here so that when we blow up, you can say that you were with us from the jump. All right, guys. So please be here next week, same time, same place. And as always, what are we doing, guys? Stay savage.
Stay savage.